We grew up empowering each other. We grew up as young men and women in a segregated Atlanta during the 50s and 60s, during the upheaval of the civil rights movement. So we were benefactors of the first benefactors of that beloved community that Dr. King, John Lewis, and Andy Young and C.T. Vivian and all gave their lives to create. So from that emerged a community in Atlanta that's unparalleled because of the leadership of Maynard Jackson, Leroy Johnson, and so many others who were public elected officials that made it possible for all of us as who've been lucky to be dubbed entrepreneurs to translate this enormous goodwill, this enormous progressive mechanism into one that we transformed into empowering communities, empowering individuals in terms of developing economic empowerment and political empowerment. We leveraged our political strength into creating an economic Mecca, which Atlanta is now. It is a black economic Mecca. In every country around the world, that's in Africa, that's in the Caribbean, indigenous people in South America, they look to Atlanta because of the movement that Dr. King and Andy Young and Hosea Williams and Ralph Abernathy and John Lewis, how they use social civil unrest to create human rights, and from the human rights and civil rights struggles, that translates into political power created by Maynard Jackson and Julian Bonds and so many others that created this great economic empowerment for entrepreneurs like myself.
Right, right. You know, you mentioned some behemoths in both politics and economics in Atlanta, the Maynard Jacksons, the Julian Bonds, the Andrew Youngs, and you rolled with that group of individuals almost from the beginning, helping them get elected and playing a central part in fundraising for them and what have you. What was it like really coming of age with those individuals?
Well, I was a small piece of this enormous messiah that we have in Atlanta, and I was very fortunate at a very early age as a student at Morehouse to be and learn from and be involved with Atlanta's black leadership, most of whom came through Morehouse. We'll forgive Andy Young,
Right.
you know,
Howard.
Howard, but we got him on the board, so he gets an honorary pass. But men such as Dr. Benjamin Mays, who was a president of Morehouse for decades, that was Dr. King's mentor. They set the benchmark. They demanded that you excel. You know, often the word is that in Morehouse men often imitated, but can never be duplicated, and that really is a truism. Okay, so coming through Morehouse at a time to see Dr. Mays and men like John Cox, who were head of the Butler Street YMCA, and sitting at the side of those individuals, me as well as thousands of other young men who came through Morehouse or who came into Atlanta, they took us in their arms and we sat at their side and learned. After we learned, we were able to develop our own pathways to contribute to this beloved community, this whole aura of economic empowerment, using political power to create economic empowerment for all of God's children. And that's what my life has been about. Using my political knowledge, transforming that into the belief that, from a business standpoint, because I studied history at Morehouse, and I think one of the most important days for me, decisions for me, was to attend Morehouse instead of going away to another school, going to somewhere in New England. Not begrudging anybody who went to New England schools, but for me personally, and for a number of young men who went to Morehouse, that laid the foundation for us. The sensitivity, the social consciousness. After Morehouse, like so many others, then we went to graduate schools, medical schools, worked on PhDs, etc. So that gave us really the foundation in terms of understanding who we are and what we need to do as individuals to positively impact communities of color.